Hello and welcome to our Canadian Women's Watch Along here as we prepare for that. Let's just go straight into the lineups because the things are there. We're living life. Oh, Amy, I hear you, Amy. I hear you. But let's talk about these Canadian women who are playing here. We'll go through some of the details here as we're about a half hour away from kickoff. The match did have to be moved, but we are still here and we will keep you as updated with everything as it goes. So, starting for Canada, you have Kaylin Sheridan, net Janine Sonis as your, assuming you're one of your fullbacks, Kanisha Buchanan, Jade Rose, and Ashley Lawrence. You have Jesse Fleming, Emma Regan, Simeon Wujo, and Chloe Castle. There's Mimi on the screen, so we're not quite sure who is going to be starting. So right there, and then Evelyn Vienne and Olivia Smith starting and pushing out. So this looks and feels like a 4-4-2. It could vary into a 4-3-3 if you have Regan and then Fleming and then Alidu up top, and then you put Lacasse and Smith around Evelyn Vienne. If you do that, then it definitely look like a 4-3-3 or like a version of a 4-2-3-1. But it seems like a 4-4-2 to me. So today we have Canada playing against Costa Rica, and they're only friendly of the window. We see a lot of teams, Europeans are doing their World Cup friendlies, sorry, their World Cup qualifying matchups, which we've had a few teams qualify already. So, guys, if you're just stopping by here, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications. We know the Men's World Cup is starting on Thursday, and we'll start our Canadian coverage on Friday. We'll also, have something every night talking about the games that we saw with our many panelists and everyone coming through. So keep your eye on this. But there's more than just football on the men's side. There's football on the women's side. And so you have Canada playing Costa Rica. Now, what's coming up for Canada specifically is you have, after this window, there's the October window. And then we go straight into CONCACAF W Championships, which is their World Cup qualifying. And if you're unfamiliar with that, let me show you what it kind of looks like. We had 6 teams qualify through qualification rounds, and that was El Salvador, Haiti, Panama, Costa Rica, Mexico, and Jamaica. And they joined Canada, United States, those 2 teams being the highest 2 ranked teams. And they got a bye, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. So the qualification for the Women's World Cup works as such. You are going to have a single elimination run. But so the top ranked team will play the lowest ranked team, the second. So 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, 3 versus 6, and 4 versus 5. No group stage, no nothing. Just winner moves on and makes the World Cup. Simple as that. And the venues are going to be taking place in Texas in that time frame. So as they were seeded as of April the 21st, you have the United States, who are currently ranked second in the world, Canada ranked ninth, Mexico ranked 27th, Jamaica ranked 41st, Costa Rica 42nd, Haiti 49th, Panama 56th, and El Salvador 78th. That's based off of the FIFA rankings of April of 2026, which means on November the 27th and the 28th, here are the matches that you'll have coming. You have United States versus El Salvador, you have Jamaica versus Costa Rica, you have Panama versus Canada, and then you have Mexico versus Haiti. The winners of those matchups make the World Cup, and then the losers will play each other in an intercontinental playoff spot on December the 2nd. The winner of that matchup, those matchups, respectively, will go to the IC playoff that FIFA has. And then the winners of that, as long as the United States is one of the top 4 teams, that semifinalists make the Olympics as well. Now, if the United States were to lose somehow to El Salvador, then it would be the top 3 teams moving forward. So if the US wins, the semifinalists are all going to the Olympics. If the US loses, the 3rd place team goes to the Olympics. And so that's something to keep in mind as we're watching some of these friendlies, as we're moving around, because that's what's at stake tonight. Introduce you, Amy. I am so sorry to hear about your grandfather. That's why I want Argentina to win the World Cup. Hey, we will think about him as we move because for sure there is definitely thoughts. There's a lot of people who are hoping to see this World Cup live, and we think about them well. So, thoughts to you, Amy. I hope all stays well. I hope you guys, as a family, can enjoy those moments together and move on. But that said, let's get to some interesting points because as we wait for the game to start, we do need to talk about some Canadian housekeeping, and that comes down to the roster. Now, interestingly enough, the roster was put out a little bit earlier, and the full roster was as follows. You had Mimi Alidou or Marie-Yasmine Alidou, Simi Awujo, Kenisha Buchanan, Gabby Carl, Cindy Collins, Melissa Dajigna, Sabrina D'Angelo, Joseph Fleming, Vanessa Gilles, Julia Grossa, Jordan Heinemann, Chloe Lacasse, Ashley Lawrence, Jordan Listro, Nichelle Prince, DB Pridham, Emma Regan, Jade Rose, Kaylin Sheridan, Olivia Smith, Janine Sonis, Elizabeth Say, Evelyn Vienne, Holly Ward, Carly Wickenheiser, and Shalina Zadorsky. Now, here in Canada, we had a whole lot of talk about who was on this roster and who wasn't on this roster because a lot of this does center on the idea of there was no Michaela Smalls, who was called up to Jamaica and had her debut. And such doing this, she gets her one-time switch and she will be representing Jamaica. Um, unless FIFA amends the rules one way or the other. And it's a very interesting topic for me. If you follow me anything on Twitter or you follow me for a while, I have been a very much stan of that player. I think they've developed so well since me watching them at U15 and all the way to the U20 levels. I've had them starting for AFC Toronto, which is the team I currently support in the new Northern Super League Canadian League for Canada. And I was a little bit perturbed, to say the least, seeing her called up for Jamaica because I wondered why Canada didn't do it. And I think that there's a very interesting conversation. There's conversation points to that. Um, and especially when like you look at the world as a whole, this is the football world, right? I think if you look at women's soccer, there are some coaches who truly believe that they live in this world of unless you play for a tier one league. Now, tier one is something we've heard a lot in Canada, right? With the likes of Bev Priestman, John Herdman. Those were the first ones who really championed and echoed those words. Just the idea that, and let me make sure that we are wonderful. That if you're not playing at a high enough league, you don't necessarily get the calls up or the looks you want to see you do it at a higher league. And we saw that with Bev, especially with the likes of a Gabby Carl who was playing in Sweden, for instance, then switched over and came to Washington. You saw her get more consistent minutes and run with the national team. Injuries played a role as well. You saw that with the Chloe Lacasse, Mimi Alidou, who both were playing in other leagues, were playing in Benfica, and then eventually they made moves. Chloe Lacasse made a move to Liverpool, and then from Liverpool she went to Utah for the NWSL, and then the same thing for Mimi Alidou, who went from Benfica to the Portland Thorns. The idea of rating players, now this is all pure speculation, and I'm trying to put myself in the mindset that I wouldn't be because I would be supporting the other way. There's a lot to say about the Canadian soccer ecosystem as it's built, right? I've come off 4 years of yelling about how it's narrow, how at one point, if you didn't play uh, youth for Canada, you basically didn't exist. And it was tough. And so now to see a player like Nikhil Small, first and foremost, let's get the real particular out of the way. It's proud for her to make the jump. She's going to be a stalwart for Jamaica for the next 10 years. Injuries notwithstanding, and she's going to be a face in that midfield consistently. I think the Canadian me is a little bit disappointed that outside of the one call up in 2021, there was no real attempt to bring her in. Now, is that a byproduct of not rating the league that we're in? Possibly, but if that's the case, why do you call up her teammates, right? Emma Regan got consistent call ups. You had a player like Kaylee Hunter, who, yes, is younger, but is getting got call ups and is going to continue to play through. If you don't rate the league, Holly Ward was run, got consistent call ups with the national team, and then also you have a player like DB Pridham who finally got called up. The interesting thing when it comes to Canada is if you look at their youth sides, I did the math, I would have thrown it up, but I lost some of it. But if you look at their youth teams, there's a bit of normalcy with this, right? If you look at Canada's women youth under 20 teams from 2014, on average, about 9 of the 20 to 21 players get a senior call up. The interesting fact is, and on average, one player from either team that either represents and plays either at the CONCACAF qualifiers or if they make the FIFA World Cup for women's under 20s, one player on average leaves and is on another side. It goes internationally, right? The dual national runs it away. And like, I don't think Casey Stoney needed to go in as she did. I think maybe it's a coach who sees a lot of people questioning the decision and then tries to justify by being like, nah, like it felt a lot like someone who accuses you. Like, yeah, I guys never had like those friends or that one person who gets accused of like infidelity, and then then they go like to the extreme of it. It's like, relax, guy. Like the one friend was like, "Yo, why are you checking out this girl?" And the next thing you know, the guy's like, "What girl, man? I don't even look at girls, man. I do read books." I'm like, sir, you work beside a salon. You're gonna see girls every day. Relax. I think Casey went really hard in terms of doing that, and I think she really rubbed the same for me. At least rubbed me the wrong way because it's not lost on me that not only Nikayla but Naima, um, I've just lost last name, but there were two Canadians who made their switch. Now, if you look at Jamaica's program, you could actually see, well, that makes sense. Busby was in the Canadian system before, so the connections are there. Uh, I do want to say it's rather convenient that it's a lot of the Jamaican melanated players who are getting these looks that are switching over. It does leave the question: what do you do with the women's program as they have this friendly game ready for the World Cup? Because I've heard many different conversations on it. Some people are convinced a U23 team maybe is a solution. I think it's a temporary solution because at the end of the day, a U23 side, unless there's a competition for it, you're just buying time, right? And if you're trying to get a player to stay within a program to play U23 versus a team that's going to promise you and has a system built for you, that's you can't you can't dangle that carrot forever. Right, and we've seen that with Canadian players who've waited, right? Um, Mary Amadine, I'm forgetting the name, who just switched over to the AT. She was a player who was waiting for the call up, right? We saw in this camp Elizabeth Say, who was a player who they wanted to see camp because she may have been courted by Cote d'Ivoire, which she's in the lineup as it stands here. And so there's two realities. I think there's a reality one that's dual national battles are always going to happen. You can't avoid that in a game that's expanding with more spots, more players will look at their connections and their options and their heritage. And if one door closes, another window will open. That's going to be the case. On the flip side, I think there's a fair value conversation to have with Canada's women's program when it comes especially to just going through the program. I think one of the like interesting factors for me is like for Canadians, we always look at the what the US is doing, whether it's fair or not. It's tough, right? And the interesting thing for me is when you look at Emma Hayes, what she did with the US versus what Casey Stoney did for Canada in terms of call ups in the year, right? And you look at what Emma Hayes did. Emma Hayes called up 44 different players in 2025. And that was everything from basically a U23 team with vets to veterans who haven't been by the team in a while and running it through all the way through till then. And then you compare that with Casey Stoney, who in the same year, the number wasn't as varied. And even within that, there's players you've seen who haven't made it through. And so I think what will make it very interesting is just looking at how we approach the idea of retaining and just getting players through the system, see as many as we can. And I always say this, I've said this multiple times. I think the first game I went to in the modern day era for Canadian women's football was a game where a 24-year-old player was given an award for like 70 or 80 caps. And that's both beautiful, that's problematic as well. And so I think for me, it's just watching to see like there's got to be better ways to cycle through. And if a player makes their choice, they'll make their choice. I think we're in an era, and I think Sigma Butler said it best. We're in an era with Canada where players aren't going to wait for that magical ticket because there's other options there. And the same thing we say on the men's side is on the women's side. Your career is so finite. You're not going to have you can't expect to play 40 years. Not everyone gets to do that. And so you have to maximize what you can do in that time. And if there's someone who comes to you with a plan, like it was Tana Boychuk, for example, going to wait for Canada to call her, or could she have gotten and had a plan with Ukraine? I think that was the best call for her. And the same thing with Michaela Smoltz. I think Michaela looks like the heir apparent for the midfield for the Reagan girls, and that will be a great role. It pains me as a Canadian because I really rated her highly, but I think it's just a good spot for her with Jamaica's emerging talent. Uh, Hopefully, this continues. The only concern I have with Jamaica right now is I know some of the fans don't have the patience with Busby, and if I but if there's a coaching change, things could change dramatically. It could get really odd. But we'll definitely keep an eye on that for that. But it's just so. I think as Canadians, we have to do a better job of cycling through players because on paper it looks great, but it's very empty calories when you look at it. But I see Paul the OG Haiti needs Costa Rica to keep losing points, so we might avoid Mexico. Unfortunately, Paul, you cannot avoid Mexico because you are seeded in as you go. Right, the seeding has already taken place. As I'll share this with you again, the teams were seeded according to FIFA's rankings on the 21st. There hasn't been anything in terms of reseeding. If that does happen, that'll be very interesting because if that's the case, then I mean Haiti could push up, but I don't think they're reseeding, but it's definitely something we're going to keep an eye on. Most definitely. It's definitely something we're going to keep an eye on, most definitely, because I don't think you can reseed because I think the top three are pretty locked in. But if IT is able to push up, if they allow reseeding, it changes the game because it makes the friendlies matter so much more, and especially with Jamaica getting over Panama, Panama's not going to be able to move up. But in the hypothetical scenario where you can reseed, yeah, Costa Rica only having one game both helps and hurts them because all the points go against them. Again, guys, this is a hypothetical conversation. But then also, if IET can push up, they had a good win against New Zealand. Because what's New Zealand ranked? Let me throw this up here. SOFA score. If they can, I mean, let me ask you this, Paul. Do you think you like Haiti's chances better against Mexico or against against a if you could move, right? You want to avoid Mexico, so you'd rather play Jamaica, is what I'm hearing you say. Let me know in the comments, sir, in the chat specifically. But yeah, it's interesting to look at the Canada situation. Okay, so you're saying you don't like the Mexico to Haiti matchup, not as of right now. Jamaica is a piece of cake. You say, oh well, no, it's a piece of cake because everyone's got plates and everyone loves icing. So we'll see how that breaks out. But yeah, if they did reseed based off of that, it does make the friendly windows much more interesting. I think they won't reseed. I mean, it won't affect any of the teams really. It really affects 4 through 6 if they did reseed. That's what it would really affect. But AT, let's look it up. Haiti versus New Zealand. Let's see, let's see, let's see, let's see. Let's see, let's see, let's see, let's see, let's see. Haiti versus New Zealand. Feb, Feb, Feb. Yep. Both Haiti versus New Zealand games were actually very good. Um, with both. Haiti getting the early goal in the second half to go up and then just really have a good showing out of the game. It does make this very interesting. Yeah, they are 35. Thanks for that. So that win would pump them up for sure. But it all comes down to the hypothetical world of if they reseed. Because if they do reseed, then you're hoping Canada batters Costa Rica and then you can move it up. But I don't believe they do. And now that's the one variable I didn't look at. And I'm gonna have to look that up very much. So let's start this adventure of finding out if they're actually going to reseed here. Guys, if you're coming by, just touch the like button. You don't need to subscribe or anything. Just touch the like button because you're gonna see me again this week. We'll be back tomorrow, finishing off our World Cup predictions with Maxit. And then we're gonna start getting our every evening World Cup recap, live streams, talk about what we see as the final games are going on. So you're gonna see a lot of us. It's gonna be a vibe. But we did want to cover this women's side of this game because I sound congested. My allergies are kicking my butt today. My allergies are kicking my butt today. So, but I'm just staying as hydrated as possible. Like there's no airflow running through my nose right now. So I'll just hang out. We'll be fine. We will be fine because it's just allergies and it's just high congestion, but we'll live. We will live. But yeah, we got Canada versus Costa Rica here tonight, and we'll see how it is. As we said earlier, this is the lineup as it stands, and we're waiting for some coverage to come through on a stream that we have here. In Canada, it's on TSN and One Soccer, so you can come and enjoy that as well. Canada has 9 victories over Costa Rica. There are no draws, there are no wins. And Canada's pretty much gone out with a very strong lineup, so we'll definitely see how it goes. But let me know what you predict here. And whoever you support in CONCACAF, like, how are you feeling about your teams as you guys get ready to get into this window, finish up this window, and then you have the October window, and then you have CONCACAF W coming as it stands. Because I'm going to have a lot of Canadian women's thoughts as we go through this, so we might as well talk about everyone else as we wait for that. But let's see what you think. We got about 9 minutes till kickoff going, and I'm going to go grab some hydration for that, and we will be back in a flash. All right, so let's go, Paul. Let's see what you got. Canada, Haiti have a lot of work. New manager is great, but the players are lacking to work around Duvernay with a strong reinforcement, which we have been getting there and there. Might be a completely different team by the time you face Mexico, which is the wild card, I think, for me of CONCACAF right now on the women's side is Haiti. Because if like they don't even need to be great defensively, they just need to be competent defensively. And they could do a lot because they have the offensive goals has never been their issue. It's just playing better structurally defensively. And if they could just like again, we're not asking them to be the men's elite team where they just shut everything down. They get but if they just get competent defending, like I make the comparison with them on the African side. They're Zambia to me. And I think there's the argument that you could make that Haiti is better than Zambia, but Zambia they have more better players at the top of the game. Like Rachel Kudanagi and Barbara Ben are probably much better as a duo over Duvernay, who you would argue is probably could probably rival both of them. But if Haiti got defending, just like if Zambia got defending, those teams would be they would just go up to the next level. And I think that's the one thing that you were waiting to see, and hopefully they could look good. But no, it's a good shout on. It's a good shout on Haiti there because I think if they could fix that, it makes a lot of things work and flow a lot easier for them. But we await the kickoff to come in here. As again, just to remind you, Canada have played Costa Rica 9 times on women's side, and believe it's 9-0. No draws, no losses. Canada have won all nine, and I think not that we expect that. Yeah, get a good. You have a good keeper, which is great. I think that helps a lot. You guys are a far better side than the side that played Canada twice last year, but just got to start fixing that because a Mexico side is definitely going to be like we know what Mexico's going to be on the women's side because we've seen it. Like we've seen it on all levels on the women's side. They're going to pressure you. They're going to be great on the ball. You may try to pressure them, but they'll pass through you. Whether it's a 5 foot pass or a 15-foot pass, they'll be clinical with it. And then they are comfortable. They have figured out the defend and counter, but also strong in the possession. They're a feisty team on the women's side. And now you're starting to see like the Ali Sotos and some of those players graduates to the senior level, and they're going to be scary. It still opens up the conversation. I still think in CONCACAF, right? I think US, Canada, and then you have that group of 3/4 with Costa Rica, Haiti, Jamaica, and Mexico, and then Panama pushing into that. I do think that that group is closer to Canada than Canada is closer to the States, but I still think it's still a gap regardless. But I still think, like I said, like I think that group of teams, and especially I'd say especially Mexico is closer to Canada right now than I would say maybe Canada's closer to the States. We'll have to wait and see what the matchups look like. I know they're hoping that once you get to that CONCACAF W final, it's a Canada US final. I think both teams would like that so they can, play each other with some high stakes as wearing the Canadian shirt. I think that ends in a way that's not fun because we just haven't looked good yet. They looked better against the States, but we aren't quite there yet in terms of challenging them. So, barring a misstep of proportions, I don't expect Canada to beat the States. If they met, that's just how I kind of see it going down. But we're getting closer to kickoff as we wait. But yeah, like we're gonna be watching this game, but we're just gonna vibe out. So guys, if you guys want to talk, put it in the chat. We'll talk about it because, like I said, I'll have thoughts about on this game and just kind of the Canadian setup because I still think they have questions at midfield, which still haven't been resolved thanks to I mean, with Nicola Small out of the picture, that was someone I thought was right on the cusp. According to the coach, apparently she wasn't, which I think is mental to me. But now the conversation is like, who's that next player in the midfield who could step up? And that's what we kind of have to wait and see. But we'll talk about that. We'll talk about everything. So whatever questions you want, we'll be following this game. We'll be vibing it out here as we go. So it'll be a good time nonetheless. The game is off. We're sharing this, and let's see what we have for our coverage. Let's see what we have for our coverage. Still nothing. All right, so as we wait for it to catch up, we have that issue come with us here. Let's see what we could find here for coverage. So I'm gonna disappear for a second here to make sure we got our stream working so that I can give you as proper play by play as I can as we go on. As we go on. Limited coverage is always great. Good question for you, Paul. Where would Costa Rica compare to Jamaica? What would your prediction be? I think Costa Rica by a slight margin. Uh, so this is a tough one for me because I think they're kind of in the same category. I like Costa Rica's young players because again, a lot of them all came up in that same era, like a Sheikah Scott, who's at I think Paris FC now, or yeah, she's at Paris FC right now. I think she's a great young prospect who could come through. I think you give the edge to its styles to me, and this is where I think it could be interesting. I think Costa Rica might have the edge because I think Costa Rica would play better versus Jamaica's current style of playing with possession. That would be my take. Right. I think if this was a Jamaica that was sitting back and defending and countering, I think maybe they might be a little bit more dangerous. I mean, now I'm basing a lot of this off of the game that they had um, at the last CONCACAF W, where I mean Costa Rica hit every part of the goal frame except for the goal, and then I think it's Soleil Washington who scores in additional time, and then they win the game. But this current version of Costa Rica, I mean, of Jamaica, are really a lot are trying to be more on the ball, possession based. And not to say that it's not working, but against a side, I think they can break down sides. I just don't always like their passing always isn't crisp. And I think that leaves them in a position where they can be had on the counter, and then that becomes very interesting. So I think I might give the edge based off of just name brand. I might give the edge to a Costa Rica by a slight margin like you're giving it to, but I think it's a very level matchup. And I think that's the matchup that they'll play with each other. So I think it's a very level matchup as it sits there. All righty. So as we wait and we see, we're gonna switch this over here to Sofa Score to let you guys know what your lineups are. Again, they got Olivia Smith up top, but it's probably Evelyn Vienne, Simi Wujo in a 10 role. Again, that could easily be a Evelyn. It could be a lot of players, but Simi would make sense there. Vienne and Lacasse out wide. I think it's Smith. Smith is a tweener. She'll go between the 10, the winger, and the 9 role. She's really a wing forward at her best, so she'll be sitting there. I'm a little bit disappointed. I would have liked to see Canada go with a back three because we finally have all our center backs healthy. That would have been great to see ultimately. And I know we got a boost here because I was looking for the game, but we don't quite have it here. And I think that's what would make it interesting. But we will wait and see as the coverage continues. But so far, it's Canada a lot in possession, moving the ball well, but no goals yet. That's where we'll sit. That's where we are sitting as we currently are. Still nil-nil, but the game's afoot, and the football is tantalizing. And we have a goal. Evelyn Vienne in the 8th minute. Canada looking great to start the game off. Goal for Evelyn Vienne in the 8th minute, and we have our opener. Great start by the ladies in red. Let's see if they can build off of this moving forward. So 1-0 for Canada. We're gonna have to update some of these things as we go. Updating this. There we are. 1-0 for Canada. A good start for the ladies in red. And Canada up 1-0 as we sit here. We'll put this here. Sure, as we sit, we're not getting much coverage, but we're going to keep this game going here. But we'll be here. We'll be talking about what we have, and we'll run through it. This explains so much. So 1-0 for Canada, a great start for them on this game. Once I get everything caught up, I will be certainly giving you a lot more of that play-by-play with the allergy-filled voice. But it's 1-0 for the ladies in red as we go through. But good start for Canada. Let's see what they can do with it, because as it stands right now, they are dominating possession, 60-40. One big chance, three total shots, 46 passes to 31. This is all based off of Sofa score. But the goal, Evelyn Vienne off of open play, right foot, and she closes it in. It's a great movement where you get the ball out wide. They try to build up, goes in, Evelyn puts it away. It's 1-0 for Canada. 1-0 for them. All right, let's get this here. Look, it's a fair question, Paul, right? And the question being, feel like teams like the US and Canada should be playing teams that challenge them in friendlies. Can Canada actually learn something here? I think they could learn something here, but it really does come down to how they want to, again, the lineups. They have 8 subs each for this. And I think what would have been really good for them to do, and we'll see if they do it, I think it started like integrate different things and just change things up as you go, right? You have 8 subs, and I think there's no reason why you can't do 4 groups of substitutions. See, like, make a sub in the 30th minute, make a sub in the 40th minute, make a sub in the 60th minute, the 75th, and then something like that, and then just change players and give them maybe 10, 15 to see how they can integrate with each other, because I think there's combinations here. I think for me, for the Canadian side, I really wanted to see them go to a back 3. All their center backs are healthy, so they could give themselves the opportunity to do that, which I think could really work well. But yeah, there is a point to the level of competition. I think Canada's stuck in a weird, not a weird spot, but Canada's stuck in a spot where they're too good for some of these teams, but they're not good for the top 10. Like a lot of the top 10 really will play them well. And I think that's where they're kind of stuck in a spot where they can play top 10 competition and learn something, which I think I'd be all for. But then I think there's value in them playing some of these teams just because you I think it helps Costa Rica to see what their level is, helps Canada to be a little bit more precise. I think, yes, like you said, something to get out of this is, when you play better competition and other teams, the things you get away with against some teams, you can't get away with against others. I think what they get away with, I think if they are crisp against a Costa Rica, I think if as it stands out, they're playing Panama, and Panama will be a good side. They'll be crisp against them as well. But I think they really need to. At this point, we just want to see them play well. So win or loss, we just want to see them play well, and that's kind of how we want to look at it in that sense. But still 1-0 for Canada as we sit here. I'm gonna chill out here in the bottom, waiting for more to come. But a mistake from Costa Rica is what gives Canada their 1-0 win, their 1-0 lead as it stands. And we'll see as the game continues to flow what moments and what things we get to see. But yeah, Canada so far looking good, but Costa Rica seemingly starting to find a little bit more footing into this game. So we'll definitely keep an eye on this as the game grows. Again, for Costa Rica, I'm looking to see what Sheikha Scott is able to do. And for Canada, I'm looking to see what Olivia Smith and the attacking line can do because I really want to see how cohesive they can look moving the ball and being dangerous there. But it is still 1-0 for Canada. Still 1-0 as we sit here. I'm gonna respect them. I know there's levels to this. The way they've set it up is the easiest way possible. Just a straight I wish they would have done a group stage and play that way, but they go from there. So we'll have to wait and see. But hey, we'll see what they're able to do. Panama's still improving, but no, Brandon Cox is still a great baller, but hey, you gotta play it and we'll see what happens. For sure. Still 1-0 in the 17th minute, and we'll see how we continue to move on in this first half. What's good, Princehood? I see you out here. Who's making the World Cup? Are we talking the Women's World Cup? Or are we talking this current World Cup? Who wins this World Cup? Because those are two different conversations. Because as it stands currently, so far we have a few teams already qualified. Right, the AFC Championship already happened. So you have Australia, China, Japan, North Korea, Philippines, and South Korea. In CONMEBOL, you have the host Brazil along with Argentina and Colombia. Oceanic has New Zealand. They made it. And so far, the four qualified teams on the women's side are Denmark, France, Germany, and Spain. And to be honest, like I think of all the World Cup, I think of all the teams that are going to be played and qualify. I like the UEFA's round first. Only four direct spots off their Nations League, and then from there, everyone's playing home and away playoffs. Which look, they'll make it regardless. But it was great to see top teams going for sure. Paul is very confident, saying from CONCACAF, US, Canada, Costa Rica, and Haiti, Mexico, those five are going. Well, as a reminder, it's not that many who will go. As a reminder, we can set as much as six. And so if the idea is we're gonna send one, two, three, four, five, so you're saying one team makes it on the playoff and then the other one doesn't. Okay, interesting. Again, a reminder as it stands currently, yes, we do have Canada up 1-0 on Costa Rica in their match. If you want some behind the scenes, I'm listening to the play by play in Spanish, and I'm not going to try to translate. So I'm just going to let you know when things are happening until we get at least something on it. But we have the screen here. We'll be here vibing. So you think Haiti makes it through the playoff? So you're saying Costa Rica, US, Canada, and Haiti, and Mexico are making it. Which effectively you're saying Canada beats Panama, Mexico beats Haiti, Costa Rica beats Jamaica, and then US beats El Salvador, and then Haiti will either beat El Salvador, Costa Rica, or El Salvador, Jamaica, or Panama in their playoff, and then go to the IC playoff, and then go there. Interesting. That's very interesting. That is very interesting. Well, according to Paul, he's saying Jamaica will lose to Costa Rica in the first round, and then from there, they will find themselves either making the playoff or not making playoff. But then he doesn't have Jamaica making it. They could possibly make the IC playoff, but we'll have to wait and see for certain. Still 1-0 as we go, but that's very interesting. But yeah, who are you guys rating here to get through? Because I think the way that it's set up, some teams have. I mean, the US and Canada clearly have easy pathways to make the World Cup. Once you get to the 4-5 and then the 3-6 matchup, it could be very interesting. It could be very interesting just because I think Jamaica, Costa Rica is close, as is Mexico, Haiti. I think those are two interesting matchups which could go either way. And like we said, this is like the middle class of CONCACAF women's sides, like that three, whoever ranks 3 through 6. I think those teams are really gonna push and elevate as long as they can start to push some of the other teams coming through. But as we stand right now, still 60-40 on the possession. Canada have been very much on the ball, dominant here. Evelyn Vien's looking as one of your better players here, moving the ball. She gets the goal. She gets that goal bump. But as we stand here, it's just a quiet game. Canada gets the mistake from Costa Rica, and they are up 1-0 thanks to that. Some back passing gone wrong as we go. But yeah, how do you guys feel about your team's chances coming W as we are sitting here still 1-0 for Canada over Costa Rica? It's a fair point. I think Jamaica are way too dependent on the one striker. They lack the midfield, which counts a lot against those teams. Nobody talks about their identity or styles of play, just like the men's. Although one can tell what their identity or style plays like the men's. I think they're trying to be a little bit more ball possession, We'll see if it's able to come through. And I think again it can have its merits against some of the small teams, but they seem a little bit more not as like I don't want to say they don't look good in possession, but they don't feel as fluid, right? I've been so accustomed to them being direct that now it's just less. That's where it just gets difficult to really judge them because it doesn't feel like they have the full fluidity. I think that's where I struggle with it. They could be, and maybe eventually it all clicks against a team, and we're like, okay, this is what we were looking for. But I think they just lack. They haven't looked fully fluid. I think Nikki helps them with that, especially having a solid six. They have a six heir apparent, a 6 to 8. But I think they'll be able to get it settled. But I think for now, it's still a bit of a mixed bag for sure. Like for sure, it's still a bit of a mixed bag. But still 1-0 for Canada. Costa Rica have looked a little bit better moving, but still Canada majority of the possession moving the ball in. We'll give you an update here in a moment. Jumping over to AI score for you guys. I think one of the interesting stories also for this game so far is just the set pieces for Canada have not been there. We have three quarter kicks, but not a lot of great opportunities off of them. And so you hope that that could be something that improves over time. But right now, it just feels as if open play is their better chance of scoring. But Costa Rica are doing a good enough job, at least, to be to be a little stingy in defense. We'll see if Canada can break it down. But Costa Rica still only down by one, but doing I think a better job defensively as this half has moved on. We'll give you guys an update in a minute. And there you see it. There it comes. Possibly. Wait to confirm who it's from, but it's feel like we have another goal from Canada, and this time, pa- 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 pa, Janine Sonis with the second. We have Canada up 2-0 in the first half. As we are winding down here, everything is updated. We're back here. Canada looking like the confident side. Good to see goals for Canada, for sure. Janine Sonis. Jenny, not Janine. Steph. But Canada doing what you'd want them to do in this game. But Costa Rica, I think, I've provided enough push for me to say, yeah, I'm never gonna discount them. I'm not even gonna throw that up there. Steph. I'm not even gonna throw that out there. But Canada's still up 2-0 as we're getting close to the end of that first half. We're in the 43rd minute, still 2-0 for Canada. We got goals from Janine Sonis and Evelyn Vienne. We're seeing the numbers come up. We'll talk about everything in that first half as we come through, but it has been the pitch is tilted. It is flowing white kits for Canada. They're wearing their classic to go Tim Hortons Cup unis and they're living life. But 2-0 for Canada. We'll talk about what we've seen in the second half as we go. Don't you dare, Steph. And we got 2 minutes of additional time coming here. Free kick coming for Canada. See if they can get it to three before the half is complete. But the pass the shot is off. We're gonna go Costa Rica in position as we move on. All right, so all right, we are here. It is halftime. Let's jump over to the sofa score and see what we see because the game has been the pitch has been tilted. It is Canada fully dominant, 2-0 over Costa Rica. Possession stats are statistics as we go first half 63 to 37, two big chances, 11 shots, only one goal, four saves for Costa Rica. Five quarter kicks, and I think that's something I'm gonna zero in on, as I always do. In games that you're dominating for me, the first thing I look at is how many saves does the opposing goalkeeper have to make, and have he been good on set pieces? I think from a shot standpoint, you like what you see. 11 shots and then 4 saves by the goalkeeper, you like that. Possibly, yeah, that she coulda got her brace there for sure. But when it comes to Canada, again, hey everybody, I'm here, we're living life. If you're dominating a game like this, the thing I like to see is good shots, but then saves being caused. Right? If this number is 11, but then there's only 2 saves, I have an issue with the shot selection. And they have missed a few, but in this case, I think they've done a good enough job to make Costa Rica's goalkeeper have to work to keep it 2-0. You had a great double save that she had off of Olivia Smith and then Chloe Lacasse coming in afterwards. That's definitely a good. You see the passing 100 plus, 244 versus 143. Tackles are kind of staying where they are. Shots, we talk again. Shots on target, 6 shots on target, nothing on woodwork, 3 off target. There's your 9, then 2 block shots for Canada against Canada. So it's there you have that number there. And then shots inside the box, I like this number. 8 in the box versus 1. It means at least they're moving the ball into those dangerous spaces and making Costa Rica have to defend and play well. I like that. Big chances scored, 1, big chances missed. Definitely you'd like them to stay go, but you'll take 50%, no doubt. Touches inside the box, again, you see that's good movement, good passing, 19 to 3 there, fouls in the final third. Duels have pretty much stayed as they are. And then moving on, long balls, final passes in the final third, crosses. You'd like to see better crosses here. 4 for 17. Yes, I know Costa Rica is 1 for 1 of their crosses, but you like to see that. I would accept maybe 8 for like 4, 6 to 7 for 17, I think is a good ratio. But 4 is kind of poor, but that kind of talks to how they've been poor on set pieces. They have 2 goals in open play, but 5 set pieces, especially the corners. That's the one spot I'll look at and say, "That's somewhere they need to be better at." They certainly need to be better in those spaces just because if you set pieces are the easiest way to get shots on frame, and you have the personnel for it. You have a Jade Rose, you have an Evelyn Vienne, you have an Olivia Smith, you have a Kanisha Buchanan, players who can get aerial and get the ball on frame. That's what you want to see from your side, and I think that's where the struggle is, where as dominant as you are, they could have been more dominant if they were able to actually get a few more shots. But for what this game was, that's kind of what I expected it to be. I see this game anywhere from 4-1 because I think Costa Rica will deserve a goal, but as we showed you here, it's been all Canada. The pitch is tilted, and that's how it's thrown. Evelyn Vienna's goal, just so you can see, is off of a bad pass, trying to go back to the goalkeeper, and then it turns into a goal, and it's 1-0 there. Janine Sonis's goal from Jesse Fleming, ball played out, moved, and some nice action to see the goal through, and ultimately you have it as 2-0. To show the player ratings as you can see them as they're sitting here, you have Evelyn Van and Janine Sonis as your 2 highest rated players. After that, you have Janine Sonis and Evelyn Van, your 2 highest rated players for them. Tanisha Buchanan and Kaylin Sheridan looking well. You have Emma Regan, Jesse Fleming, and then you have a group of players: Chloe Lacasse, Olivia Smith, Ash Lawrence at right at 6'5", and then 6'4", you had Jade Rose. Kind of a few moments moving the ball, but overall, I think it's been a good first half for Canada. Shaka Scott's definitely had good moments. And if you remember, Shaka Scott has played 3 U20 cycles. So if you're in CONCACAF, you've watched women's football and you watch youth women's football, you know that name, you know that face, you know that player most definitely. So 2-0 is the score. And again, just so everyone knows, there are 8 substitutions that are available for each side. I could see both sides trying opting for a full line change to get some players on. I'd like to see maybe a slower integration, maybe some halftime subs, and then subs at the 60th, and then subs at the 75th would be my ideal for Canada, just so they could see, what a different group could look like. I think I'd love to see a back 3 for Canada in this game. I think that'd be really ideal. But beggars can't be choosers. That's kind of where it sits. But no, I think for me, the second half, I really want to watch the midfield to see what they do because I think in this type of a game, you do want to see not to see them be ruthless, as Bev or Herman would say, but you want to see them just turn up that level. Right? When you watch Canada at youth levels, you come accustomed, especially on the women's side, there's a level, there's a gear that they get to. And I want to see the senior team get to that gear. We'll have to wait and see what they're able to do with it. But again, 2-0 is not terrible. We'll definitely take a look and see what is possible. But 2-0 for Canada, not a bad first start to the game. A gift, and then from there moving. And then Priscilla Chinchilla, I think for Costa Rica, has definitely been the standout out of moments where not much has happened. I know you have the 5s just because of the mistake off the first goal. But for Canada, good start, good average, good run. 2-0 is the score. And that's kind of sitting. If you're watching for Canada, like what would you want to see in the second half? What do you want to see in the second half for Canada? Do you want to see them continue to play with the same players? Do you want to see them change it up? Like, what do you want to see in that half? Let me know. And I'm gonna go rehydrate my parched throat. And we'll be back in a minute. We'll get to your comments in a moment. All right, so we're underway in the second half, and we're gonna see any substitutions. I'm just gonna scour to see any changes that were made here, just so that you guys are aware. We should be able to get some of that here as we check to see who has moved on. The coverage is a little bit off here. See what we have here for substitution. Well, that's a change. We have a red card and a penalty in the 52nd minute, stepping up the spot. We did see some changes come in for Canada. Still wait for those to get updates. We could give you abreast of that. But a red coming in for Costa Rica, which means we have a ooh, chance to go up by 3, and now it's just going to be a lot of just spam. This could get out of hand if Canada is able to put this penalty away. But we'll have to wait and see if they are able to do so. If they do, then this might just open the floodgates, especially with the time that's left in the game and how tilted the game has been already. Let's see if Canada's able to put this away. And it is converted. Janine Sodas puts it away. She's got a brace. It is now 3-0, and they are getting ready. This game could get out of hand here. 3-0 so far for the ladies in red. 3-0 is the score. And with Costa Rica now down to 10, this could change the dynamic of the game. Maybe now set pieces may look better for Canada. We'll have to wait and see. But right now, Canada are just could see this game out, or they could start to really lay it on. Maria Cotto with the red in the 53rd minute. So no fullback. Costa Rica probably going to drop back into more of a 5-3-1 shell or a 5-3-1 shell or a we'll see what they're able to do. But right now, Jesus with a brace, certainly climbing up the ratings. But we had Kanisha Buchanan coming off for Vanessa Gilles. You got Chika Scott coming off for Gloriana Villalobos coming off. And now Maria Cotto off. Those are your movements. And 3-0 for Ladies in Red. Let's see if this game continues as it goes. So we've been told, Steph. So we've been told. And more changes coming in. We had Gabrielle Guillen coming in for Anna Gilbertson. That's coming up. We're going to see what the Canadian change coming in. Is this what I want to see? They didn't go back three for me, which I am a little bit disappointed for Canada. We'll see what they decide to do here with the substitution coming in. Still 3-0 for Canada. Goals from Vienna in the 7th minute, and then Sotis in the 41st, as well as 54th on a penalty. It looks like we have Jordan Heidemann coming in and Michelle Prince coming in to the game. Looks like we're having an attacking change, which might make sense for this game. With the amount of possession that'll come in, it might just be time to just spam crosses and see what the ladies in red can do. So Heidemann in, Michelle Prince in. We'll see if Canada can spam crosses and look better on some action to come through. Again, we're in the 64th minute. This game feels like it's in the balance, but we'll wait and see what we're able to get from it as we go. We'll give you an update here in a minute. And it looks like the spamming is working. We have a corner set piece goal. A set piece goal for Canada in this economy. We are allowed to dream in this economy. What a time. DB Tournament for Evelyn Viet as well. And we'll get you the goal here in a moment. So right now we're sitting in a cooling break as we sit, but it looks like it's either a goal or a set piece coming through. I think it may have just been taken off here, but we're gonna just confirm here everything. But set pieces definitely is a thing I'll look and see. I'd like to see better of from Canada. You can't have 8 quarters and have no goals to show for it as it stands right now. Right now, I think a convincing win and ultimately some good to build off of, but I would still say you want them to be a little bit better and clinical when it comes to their set pieces. We'll show you some of these stats here in a moment. All right. All right. And then we have Simi Wujo coming off for Marie Yasmin Alidou. So we're getting the substitutions here, that second half crew to come into play. Let's just confirm the scoring and how the game is flowing. Still at 3-0. And to me, I think if there's one stat that I'll look and say I'm very disappointed in, as we look at the shots coming through, we're up to 17 shots and only 5 saves. I think that's where it's problematic for me. 9 quarter kicks for Canada. Set pieces are free chances to get players free and just get balls on the frame. They must be better than this. They have to be better than this because if not against better teams, those may be their only opportunities, and if they can't put them away, it is a bit problematic. So cooling break coming back from that, but I happy with the win. But I say set pieces where I steer in and say definitely you want them to improve their open play movement has been nice, but again, like we said, set pieces you want them to improve there. Still 3-0, 73rd minutes. There won't be too much on additional time coming through. We'll give you guys an update in a moment. So yeah, they're pouring it on. It's now 5-0. They are pouring it on. Janine Sodas with our third gets a natural hat trick, and then it's done. And I'm gonna sign off here, guys, because allergies are kicking my behind, and I wish I could be with you guys a little bit more and give a little bit more of the commentary, but I am struggling. So we're gonna call it right in here. I mean, bearing a barring a comeback of epic proportions, this game is pretty much set and done. So 3-2 to 5-0 is the score. Heidemann scoring the fifth for Canada after Soreness with a natural hat trick, and then Evelyn Vienne opening it up. It may get worse. It may not. We'll have to wait and see. But as we stand here, we saw Elizabeth Say, Carly Wickenheiser, and Sydney Collins come in for Janine Sonis, Jesse Fleming, and Ashley Lawrence. The game has gone as we've expected it. 5-0 for the ladies in red. Hey guys, with that, we're gonna sign off. Thank you for being with us for as much as we could have stayed on. Do appreciate you. Assuming that I can breathe tomorrow. I'll be back to do some stuff for the round of 32 all the way to the finals. But again, it's all subject if I can breathe. So until then, Canada dominates as expected, and they can't get it going. Convincing, it's 5-0 as it is. We'll give you that scroll one last time. 5-0 for them. And we're just getting right to the end of it. Call the game. 63 there. The lineups are just killing it. We'll give you guys some last pieces here. So it is just a 9.4 on Sofa score. Totally deserved. But then also shout outs to Ashley Lawrence and Kayla Schrader for solid games, as well as Evelyn Vienne. Olivia Smith had a few misses. Not her best outing, but definitely building City, I think, a nice bounce back. And then you have Jordan Heidemann with a goal, Vanessa Gilles drawing a penalty, DB Pridham playing well in the shell, hasn't shown much yet, and then Mimi doing well with Say, Sidney Collins, and Carly Wickenheiser. No play for Zadorsky, Listro, Ward, or Carl. That'll be a talking point, I'm sure. We'll put together a post game podcast video for you guys. We'll do it sometime tomorrow. So we'll have a recap of that game, and we'll talk a little bit about the U20 camp that Canada had. But then we'll be all men's World Cup after that. Thanks, guys, for stopping by. We did enjoy it. Thank you for spending the time with us. We appreciate the support. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out. And, if you want some more World Cup coverage, we cover all the World Cups men's, women's, U17s, U20s. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications to know when we're on, or turn on notifications to know when I'm on so you can avoid me. It works both ways. Guys, thank you so much for the time spent. As always, we'll just wrap it up right here.